News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. On the Mark is powered by Kunis Country Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area at 221 North 36th Street, Quincy. Faith, family, and giving back. That's Kunis Country. And now, here's Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin, brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime powertrain warranty on the new and the used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. Thank you so much for making me a part of your Saturday morning, broadcasting live and local here at our KHMO studios in the heart of Quincy. Follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. You can follow the show. Just search On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Again, that's On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. This is episode 207 of On the Mark, and we got a jam-packed show for you today. I know it's weird. I feel weird about it, but I'm actually going to start my show here talking about the NBA. We'll get to that here in just a second. We'll do a whole breakdown of NFL action and go through every game this week, give you my lock, give you my upset. I was so close to going 2-0 last week. The Chargers killed me on Monday night. A little college football talk. And then to wrap up the show, I will do this thing. I'm going to start doing this now throughout the weeks where teams that are on the bye week, I'm going to spend a little bit of just giving you kind of quick thoughts on the teams that are on the bye, like where they are heading to their bye, what they need to do, and just kind of a quick overarching view. Let's waste no more time. Let's jump into it. Hespin headline number one. By the time we talk again next Saturday, the NBA season officially will have already tipped off. So I got some thoughts on the NBA season as it begins in earnest on Tuesday.
Hespin's headlines On the Mark.
So I'm calling this my abbreviated NBA preview. You know, in the years past, I've done picks and try to predict who's going to go where. And I'm just like, you know, with the NBA, so much of it's very different from the NFL. You can have things where it's like people pick the Houston Texans to only win 2 or 3 games. And look, they've already won 3 games. That's the NFL. It's different than the NBA. In the NBA, you kind of know which teams are struggling, which teams are young, which teams are growing. You know, in the East, Detroit will be fun, but they're young. Orlando should be fun, but they're young. Do I need to spend so much time talking about Washington? Is there without Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis? You know, in the West, it's the same about teams like, San Antonio, obviously with Wemby, but they're young. Memphis without Ja Morant. Houston, very, very young and up and coming. So I want to there's a couple teams in the East, a couple teams in the West I want to talk about, some of the stars and just some of the big storylines heading into the year that I'm watching out for that I think are really important. So let's just start with the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference, in my opinion, is the NBA season tips off on Tuesday, October 24th. The Eastern Conference is 2 teams and everyone else. It's the Bucks and the Boston Celtics. The Bucks and Boston. That's the Eastern Conference. With the Bucks, obviously Dame Lillard and Giannis, a pairing with a guard and a dominant big combo that I don't think we've seen, honestly, since like Shaq and Kobe. Or maybe like Kobe and Pau Gasol. I mean, you're talking about an elite guard, a first ballot Hall of Fame guard, and then one of the most dominant players in NBA history at their position with Giannis Antetokounmpo, a multiple-time MVP, an already NBA champion, and what he can do on the block. Giannis is a freak. He is the Greek freak for a reason. It's an extremely exciting team up and pair up. But they're not exactly what I would call like a super team, right? It's Dame, it's Giannis, and then you have a really nice rotation of Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Chris Middleton, and then some guys off the bench that you've heard of before. But overall, they're not what I would call a super team. They're a 2-star team with some then role players in Brook Lopez and Middleton, Bobby Portis, who are going to need to step up big in big moments and help them get through the season. Boston, meanwhile, is really kind of, in my opinion, the super team of the Eastern Conference. You know, you have Jason Tatum, who's the top 10 player. You have Brown, Jaylen Brown, who's been paid the biggest contract in basketball history. You add Kristaps Porzingis and now Drew Holiday to that lineup. Marcus Smart is gone. And so you have a Boston team that you think, oh, okay, well, they lost Marcus Smart. They added Porzingis. They're going to be not as good defensively. Well, then they go get Drew Holiday, and you have this floor space with Porzingis. Boston's loaded. Robert Williams should be back and should be healthy this year. They have a really solid bench in Boston as well. I would be really shocked this morning if, here we are sitting in October, if the Eastern Conference wasn't represented by either Boston or Milwaukee. They feel like two teams that absolutely are on a collision course for the Eastern Conference Finals. And then you have the kind of everyone else, right? The everyone else is Philly and Miami. And then I would add in for the Eastern Conference, a Cleveland, Chicago, Toronto. But Miami and Philly, Philly, obviously it's a huge year. Can they keep Embiid? What can you do around Embiid with Tyrese Maxey, with James Harden? Can they be competitive at all? Will you lose Embiid? Will Embiid get frustrated with Philadelphia and demand a trade? Or will, the defending MVP come motivated and try to, once again lift this team up to playoff success that they just haven't had in years past? Philly, to me, feels like that kind of just dead team walking. Feels like they're ready for an implosion at any minute. Harden's already, he's in training camp, but he's not happy, and he's calling out Daryl Morey left and right every time he gets a chance. You like Maxey a ton. You like Embiid a ton, but around them, it just feels like they're a team that's missed their window, and they're still there. They're still going to be good, but are they at the level of Boston and the Bucks? No, absolutely not. And then Miami is the team you count out every year, but they find themselves in the A seed last year after in the play-in game, and then they end up in the Eastern Conference Finals and then make it to an NBA Finals. Miami, I expect them, like every year, to be scrappy, to be really good, and to be a really, really tough out in the NBA playoffs. And if you're Milwaukee and if you're Boston, you're going to keep looking at that playoff bracket saying, how can we avoid Miami, right? How can we avoid the Heat? We don't want to play the Heat in the first or second round. How can we avoid the Miami Heat? And then lastly, in the Eastern Conference, this is the kind of final run for the Chicago Bulls, this version of the Chicago Bulls. Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic, Pat Williams, Kobe White, no Lonzo Ball again. And does this team have any sort of fight in them to actually make the playoffs, to actually make a legitimate run as a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference? I think I like their chances more this year than in the years past. They're healthy. The expectations are not as lofty, and so I feel like they can maybe fly under the radar a bit for my Bulls team. Otherwise, in the NBA and the Eastern Conference, the Knicks will be around. Toronto's going to be around. They're well-coached teams. They have some talent. Jalen Brunson with the Knicks. But otherwise, in the Eastern Conference, it's Milwaukee, it's Boston, it's everyone else. I'm taking Boston. I'm taking, the Bucks to win it all. I mean, I love Giannis. I love the culture that Milwaukee has up there. I think adding Dame has just been incredible. As far as the Western Conference goes, as you're listening on the mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, yes, it's wild. I'm talking basketball here and during football season to lead the show. But as I said, basketball season tips off on Tuesday, so I want to get my thoughts out there before the season starts. I think in the West, obviously, the biggest question mark is, can Denver repeat? Was this a one-year wonder for Denver, or are they a team now that is built for, like the Spurs were, just kind of longevity success? Jokic has a right to be called the best player in the world. Murray was terrific during that playoff run. Michael Porter Jr., they have size. Aaron Gordon, they have shooting off the bench. They have the best or the second best player on the planet. So they have a great head coach. They have a culture they believe in. And again, even though they're the defending champions, they're in a Western Conference that just feels so loaded with stars and a mega super team in Phoenix that they feel underrated as well. I still think Denver's the best team in the West, and it would, to me, be smart to pick a Bucks versus Nuggets final at this moment, and that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm predicting right now as we start the season. As far as the next tier in the Western Conference beyond Denver and their ability to repeat, it's the super team, right? The Suns get rid of Chris Paul. And is that addition by subtraction? Now you have KD, you have Bradley Beal, you have Devin Booker, Nurkic from the Blazers. This team can shoot the lights out the gym. This team has an offense that is just loaded with firepower beyond their big three. The thing with the Phoenix Suns will be, can they stay actually healthy enough? You know what I mean? Like, Kevin Durant is just not proven to be a 70-plus game player the last couple years, and healthy when you need him to be in the big moments coming down the stretch. So if Kevin Durant has a renaissance here and is a full healthy year, they will absolutely be a legitimate title threat to not only the Nuggets, but anyone in the Eastern Conference as well. I mean, they can score in bunches. They're just elite at being able to score the basketball. And they're going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch Bradley Beal, KD, and Booker, and who's going to be maybe the kind of the floor general for that team now that Chris Paul is gone. Then there's three teams that call them the crafty vet teams, right? The Lakers, the Clippers, and the Warriors. The Lakers, Anthony Davis and LeBron, and then a bunch of fun, weird pieces. Austin Reeves, they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. They're riding high right now. What does LeBron have left in the tank here in year 22? Anthony Davis, if he's healthy, he's absolutely a top 10 player in the league. He played like it for most of the season last year. Rui Hachimura, they add in some other pieces. They're last year they made a lot of these moves right before the season, and then at the trade deadline, they had to stick it all together. This year, they're going into it with a year where they've had this group now together, the core of it, played a lot of basketball together, and there's no Russell Westbrook distraction. There's none of that. So I expect good things from the Lakers if LeBron and AD are healthy. There's no reason not to. They'll float around 500, above 500 in that kind of like 6-7 seed for a lot of the Western Conference, just because they're old guys who are not going to play a ton of regular season basketball. I can see the Lakers trying to like win that play-in tournament and like solidify, like just get a playoff ticket, because I think that's how it works with the in-game play-in, in-season play-in tournament, and then really coasting through the rest of the year to get healthy. And that would be smart for them. It would be smart for the Clippers to do as well. The Clippers, the eyes will be on, will they eventually trade for James Harden or not through the season? Otherwise, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have been underwhelming in their couple years together already. And this is now this kind of last hurrah for them as a veteran team. But if they're healthy again, they're very, very talented team, is capable of scoring with anyone and wing defenders to handle Phoenix and to handle LeBron and the Lakers. And then the Warriors. Obviously, you can't count out the Warriors. Steph Curry, they add Chris Paul to the equation. The vets are all back. Clay is back. Draymond's back for another year, even though a couple months ago we were speculating, is this the time to break up the Warriors? They didn't do it. They're leaning all in once again. And so these crafty veteran teams, can any of those three surprise in the Western Conference and make an NBA Finals? I think they're all capable of it, but I think the Suns and obviously Denver have to be favorites ahead of those three teams. But those are the five. And then there's kind of those next up guys, that next step. Can the Kings take a next step after a really great postseason run and a great showing last year with a young core in De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis? Can the Grizzlies, without Ja Morant, hang around through most of the season until they get Ja back and him be explosive and healthy for a playoff run? Can Dallas, with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, actually figure it out and put the pieces together so they can climb back to the top of the ladder after being in the Eastern? A year ago we were talking about Dallas's, they were in the Western Conference Finals, and then they completely fell apart late season after the trade and missed the playoffs. So a lot of expectations on them. Overall, my view of the NBA playoffs, I think the Bucks versus the Nuggets, that's what I'm predicting for the NBA Finals. I think they are the two best teams when healthy because they have the two best players and the supporting casts around those two best players. I think it's as simple as that. Boston and Phoenix are going to be really, really interesting because they have a ton of talent. They have a ton of scoring. Boston's got better defense, but Phoenix has better scoring. They're both, I think, fairly well coached for the most part, and will absolutely be around. And then the veteran teams in each conference. For the Eastern Conference, it's the Heat. For the Western Conference, it's those three lingering two LA clubs. It's California, right? It's Los Angeles Clippers and Lakers and the Warriors. If anyone outside of those teams I just named is going to be in the finals and playing for an NBA Finals, I'd be really shocked to tell you this at the start of the season. But you know what? Our calendars are full. Our cup runneth over. We have NHL hockey. We have NBA basketball, NFL football, college football. This is what we wait for. This is why we love late October and November on the sports calendar. When we come back, we will break down every NFL game. I'll give you my lock and my upset of the week as well. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai.
You know Riverside Barbecue.
KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime powertrain warranty on the new and used vehicles. Over 3,000 new and used vehicles to choose from. You just got to tell them Mark sent you when you stop by the dealership. Welcome on in to episode 207 of On the Mark. All right, that was my NBA stuff. I promise I can't imagine what it would take for me to leave my show with the NBA anymore between now and football season ending. Buddy, had to get it out of the way. Got to talk a little NBA as it starts on off. My second favorite sport. Well, I guess college football would be my second favorite. Third, whatever, you know what I mean. We'll jump into it now. A Week 7 NFL preview. Hespin headline number 2.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
All right, let's jump into it. What do we got in Week 7 in the NFL? We got some really interesting matchups, and it's one of those first weeks as I was looking through the games, I go, there's not that many games, and you see how many teams are on the bye, and you're like, oh, man, we are in it. We're in the thick of the NFL season here now. We got byes. We got a ton of bye weeks. So let's start with it Sunday, the noon slate, and we'll just jump right in with it. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Chicago Bears, the 3-3 Raiders at the 1-5 Bears. Backup quarterbacks in this matchup. Vegas favored by 3. I think that's absolutely the right way to go. If this game was on a neutral site or if it was in Vegas, it would be favored by much more. But it's in Chicago. Brian Hoyer, if he gets to start, he's played in Chicago before. He had some good games with the Bears, his short stint with the Bears. I think the difference maker in this game is the Raiders have Max Crosby and a quarterback who's going to take snaps for them, who has won NFL games before and has a lot of NFL experience and is with a coach that knows him and he knows his system. That's a huge advantage. The only advantage the Bears have is like home field, and there'll be a lot of dumb Bears fans who are excited to root on Tyson Bagent, the rookie quarterback, because they just hate Justin Fields for some reason, and so they're going to try to support him 120%. I think you'll see pretty early on this Bears team without Justin Fields is really going to struggle. I don't expect much from them. I would love to see Roschon Johnson play in this game. I think if the Bears have a chance, it's by just like keeping their head down, running the football a ton, and then hopefully Bagent just makes some good throws, gets it in the hands, like short completions to Mooney and Moore, and let them run and let them go. I don't see how the Bears win this game with Tyson Bagent and how bad they have been. I think the Raiders are actually a really scrappy team, and because the Raiders don't have Jimmy G, they're not taking anything for granted. They know, that defense knows, this team knows they have got to find a way to uplift their team without their starting quarterback. It's a very winnable game for them on the road. I think you'll see them come out. These two teams are just bad coach teams, but one of them has a legitimate NFL quarterback. The other team does not. And so I'm going to take the Raiders. I think they'll win ugly 2017. I think about the 3 is right. You know what I mean? 24, maybe 17, something like that in Chicago, taking down the Bears. Bears fall to 1-6. And I think by the end of Sunday, around 3, 4 o'clock, we'll know, Tyson Bagent is not the guy. Maybe a nice backup quarterback, but he's not the guy. Browns at the Colts. This one's tough because we just still don't know what Deshaun Watson is like. The Browns riding high off of that big win. Colts got embarrassed on the road. I actually think the Colts have a legitimate chance in this game. They're 3-3. They're at home against a Browns team that is coming off a real high in that huge upset win over the 49ers. The only problem is, man, that Browns team defense is good. The Browns have right now the best defense in football. They're on a historic pace as far as giving up yards and points and things like that. So I'm going to trust my gut with that and just say, listen, The Browns have the best unit going in this game. And P.J. Walker is a very capable backup if he has to play. If Deshaun Watson plays, that obviously should favor Cleveland. I'll take the Browns on the road to sneak out a win against the Colts. Listen, the Colts, now that you know that Anthony Richardson is out, there's no reason for the Colts to not try to lose as many games as possible. The Colts are in a really unique position. If they could end up with a top 5 draft pick, and they already have their quarterback of the future, you can sell. The Bears showed you can get a lot for your pick if you already have your quarterback. And if the Colts were to find a way to end up with a top 5 pick, that could be extremely beneficial for them in the long term as far as supporting their young quarterback with a ton of talent around him. So I think this could be one of those sneaky moments where now the Colts, if you're a Colts fan, you might want to start looking at it as saying losing games is probably the best thing for your franchise going forward now that Anthony Richardson is done for the year. This year was all about Richardson. Now he's done. He's toast. I think you believe in your coach. I think Shane Steichen's proven he can coach. But you want to lose now a lot of close games if you're the Indianapolis Colts, and I think this is one of them. I'll take the Browns in an upset victory over the Colts. Well, not upset, but they're favored. But they're favored by 2.5. But on the road, victory against the Colts. Something around the lines of 2013. I think that Browns defense just really clamps down on the Colts offense. Bills, Patriots. I'm done believing in the Patriots, even against division rivals like the Bills. The Bills are the better team. Bills have the much better quarterback. They're favored by 8.5. I would take the Pats and the points because the Pats are at home. Bill Belichick knows these teams in his division so well. You saw we did Miami's offense. He's the only one who could hold Miami's offense. They beat up on the Jets earlier. I think this is definitely one of those surprise games where people will ask questions about the Bills. The Bills will pull away late and win this game. But I feel like it's one of those, this is a now or never final stand for Bill Belichick and his Patriots team this year at 1-5. They're going to come out swinging, putting up, as much of a fight as Mac Jones is possibly capable of putting up. But it's Josh Allen versus Mac Jones. It's a good team versus a bad team. It's a team with a lot of talent versus a team with not a lot of talent. The Bills absolutely have to be buyers at the trade deadline. Losing Matt Milano, they've lost 2 running backs here now. They are at a dearth of depth. The Bills absolutely should be buyers at the trade deadline. Give up picks. Give up whatever you have to do to go find yourself another, a linebacker. Go find yourself another difference maker, whether it's a wide receiver or a running back. Go start picking apart the teams that are looking to sell at the trade deadline. The Bills should be buyers, and I think they get a victory in New England. I think it's closer than you think. 27-20, Bills win, Patriots cover. Neither of those games, though, are my lock or my upset of the week so far. Commanders, they are favored by 2 in New York against the Giants. Yeah, I like the Commanders in this game. Even if Daniel Jones is healthy, the Giants, the vibes are all off. The offensive line is bad. It felt like that game against Buffalo was kind of their final stand, and they couldn't pull it out. It's really bad clock management by Tyrod Taylor and that offense late in the first half. They had the Bills dead to rights at times, but I think that was more about the Bills just playing sloppy, coming back from London, still being hungover, time zone hangover compared to the Giants actually being that terrific. The Giants have a nice defensive front, don't get me wrong, but the Commanders have proven that, while their offensive line is shaky, their defense is for real, and their quarterback, their second-year quarterback, I really like what I've seen from Sam Howell, and I was a Sam Howell doubter starting the year. You know that if you listen to the show. I think he's not been turning the ball over. He's got to find a way to avoid more sacks. He's taken a lot of sacks. But I think if the Commanders can keep Sam Howell upright, they have the weapons and they have the defense to certainly keep this game close, even if a couple mistakes are made by their young quarterback. I'll take the Commanders to beat the Giants on the road. I think pretty easily. Again, New York is just in a tailspin right now. I'll take that game to be 24-17. Commanders take care of the Giants and improve to 4-3 in the year, which is shocking to me. Where I predicted they would be to where they are at this point in time. Lions at the Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 3, and it is my upset of the week. I love the Lions getting points. I get the better team, better offensive line, quarterback who's playing at an MVP level versus an actual former MVP. I get wide receivers who don't drop passes, and I get points. Listen, the Ravens play really good football at home, but I think this Lions team is absolutely built to handle the Ravens pass rush, and this Lions team is absolutely built to attack that Ravens secondary. Listen, if the Lions play their A game and the Ravens play their A game, the Lions will win. You never know what happens in the NFL. An injury or something goes wrong, or the Lions may just have an off day. No shame in losing to the Ravens on the road. But I think there's a lot of value for the better team that's playing better football right now, more complete football games. I mean, they stepped on the throat of Tampa last week, the Lions did. The Ravens haven't stepped on anyone's throat. They're 4-2, but they are like the anti-throat steppers. They can't convert in the red zone. You're not going to be able to rely on field goals and Justin Tucker kicking 6 field goals and beat the Lions. The Lions will put up points. Even if you play your best game defensively, the Lions are going to score points. Jared Goff and this offense, they are pushing the ball downfield. They are making explosive plays downfield. They have the weapons to do it with Sam Laporta, with St. Brown. We don't know the status for David Montgomery, but Jahmyr Gibbs should be back. I love the Lions in this game. I'll take the Lions in the upset Lions +3 to beat the Ravens outright. 30-27 in what I think will be the game of the noon hour, with the Lions taking care of the Ravens, moving to 6-1 on the season. Falcons at the Bucks. I wanted this to be my lock of the week because I really do think the Bucks will win and should win. I'm taking the Bucks to beat the Falcons, but I'm still a little nervous putting money on and my neck on the line for a team in the Buccaneers that I thought might only be a 3-win team this year. They've already hit 3 wins. This is going to be a huge matchup for potential playoff positioning. 2 teams right now that I think have surprised us all. The Falcons are scrappier than we think. They just are getting really abysmal quarterback play. At times Ritter has looked good, but there's been zero consistency overall. And for the Bucks, they had a chance last week to show they could battle with the top dogs in the NFC, and they got trounced on by the Lions. So for the Buccaneers, this is a get-right game at home. They're staying at home. They've been at home. I love that for them as well. They're favored by 2 points. I would take them and the points. I just feel way more confident. Their defense has more teeth in that aging defense than I thought it would have at this point in time. And listen, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are still going out there scrapping and fighting for their guy Baker Mayfield. I'll take the Falcons. The Buccaneers to beat the Falcons at home, 24-14. Desmond Ritter makes a couple big mistakes, costs his team dearly. I'll take the Buccaneers to win. Rams hosting the Steelers, and here it is, my lock of the week. The Rams -3 at home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. This comes down to something that I don't know how to explain clearly. But it's a lot of it's a gut feeling, is that there's just the Steelers will travel well. LA and the Rams and the Chargers have no fan bases, right? The Rams have a little bit of a bigger one. It might be a 50-50 crowd. If this was Steelers Chargers, it'd be 70% Steelers, 30% Chargers. But I'll put it to you this way. The offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers is poop. It's really, really poop. It's not good at all. And they have been very inconsistent. And I hate that they're actually coming off of a bye. I think they're going to be even more sluggish. I think they're going to come out slow. I think they're going to come out overthinking things, trying to prove something. Matt Canada, what did you fix in the bye week? Against a Rams defense that is playing pretty darn good football. And the strength of the Rams defense attacks the weakness of the Steelers' offensive line. I think they can get at Kenny Pickett. They can make his life a living you-know-what. And I don't trust the Steelers to effectively run the ball against the Rams. That's what you need to do to beat the Rams, to run the ball. Now, the Rams are missing running backs. They're just a decimated with injuries at the running back position. They traded running backs. But Cooper Kupp is 100% healthy. Matt Stafford looks 100% healthy. Puka Nacua is 100% healthy. I really believe if this Rams offensive line can hold up, more than 60% of the time against that Steelers pass rush, you're going to see a weird turnover, ugly a game that leads to the Rams somehow sneaking out a 20-13 victory over the Steelers in LA. I think you'll see sluggish offense from the Steelers, bad offense from the Steelers, and I think you'll see from the Rams team a team that's capable of putting up points at home, even against a very good Steelers defense. I like the Rams. They are my lock of the week. Lions upset of the week. So there you go. It's a tough one. There's not as many games, so you got to really dig through the lines. Do I feel 100% confident about either of those? Not as much as I did about last week, but I do think you're getting value with the better team being the underdog as the Lions. And for the Rams at home as a favorite, I just believe in their ability to score, and I know that Pittsburgh struggles to score. So 3 points I know is a lot, but you can see this game being 14-14 or 13-13 midway through the third, early fourth, and then all of a sudden Cooper Kupp breaks one. Stafford's actually able to hit the big throw, and the Rams going to win pretty easily 20-13 or 20-14, and they cover the 3. Seahawks hosting the Cardinals. Seahawks favored by 8. I actually think the Seahawks probably should and will cover this Cardinals 8 line, but it's a divisional game, and you just never know with divisional opponents, so I'm staying away from it. But I obviously like the Seahawks way more than the Cardinals. The Cardinals are getting close to figuring out if Kyler Murray is actually going to come back, and when he is. I heard that he's going to be off the PUP list soon and be able to start getting back. Some of the stuff I was reading. But let's be honest, this Seahawks team actually outplayed the Bengals last week on the road. They just were woeful in the red zone. I think they work on that over the week. They're at home against a Cardinals team that the Seahawks know they have to win this game, and they are coming in motivated after that ugly loss in Cincinnati. The Seahawks can actually score in bunches, and against a Cardinals defense that has showed some bite, but overall you can really get at. I think this looks a lot like the Cardinals game last week. They keep it close early against the Rams, and the Rams pull away. Same thing with the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks, let's go with it. I think they cover. I think 27-13, Seahawks win at home, improve to 4-2, and keep flying under the radar as far as a possible competing for the division / definitely wild card team in the NFC. Packers at the Broncos. Listen, the Packers are favored by a point in Denver. They're coming off of the bye, and they absolutely should be favored. Both teams coming off of a bye, actually. The Broncos are not coming off of a bye, but they had the extended break from the primetime game. I'll say this about Denver. This is a moment for them where at what point in time, even if you lose, you just have to put a complete game together. It feels like all the pressure is on the Broncos, and that's good for the Packers. I don't love the Packers coming off a bye. Their young quarterback, Jordan Love, just needs to play as much football as possible. I think Matt LaFleur, though, and this Packers team will be prepared for this matchup. They are rested. They're going to be as healthy as they can be. Jones finally back. They know now what to do without Bakhtiari. They've had a 2 weeks to digest him now being gone for the season. The Broncos pass rush has lost all of their teeth. So I'll take the Packers to win, beat the Broncos. I think they put up points, 27-20. The Broncos are a mess, couple big turnovers, and you're sitting there scratching your head at 1-6 for them Monday morning. Broncos fans in pain. Packers get back to 500. Chargers at the Chiefs. The Chargers, they needed that one on Monday night because now you head into Arrowhead. Kansas City favored by 5.5. I think this game's closer than that. I really do think it's a 3-point game. Listen, the Chiefs have not been playing perfect football, but they have been playing with a defense that is by far the best of Patrick Mahomes' young career in Kansas City. Don't overthink this one. Patrick Mahomes is so great in division, especially at home. I think the Chargers do come out with a real sense of urgency, a real sense of we lost one. We need to come out fighting the one we should have won. Justin Herbert wanting to shake off the bad game. Wouldn't shock me if even the Chargers got out to like a 17-7 lead. Don't panic on it. I think the Chiefs win, Chargers cover. I'll take the Chiefs 30, Chargers 27 in a fun shootout where the Chargers get the better of the Chiefs defense, but overall the Chiefs defense makes a play late to secure the win for the Chiefs. Dolphins, Eagles, this Sunday Night Football is obviously the game you just want to watch. I'm not betting this game purely because I just want to watch it and enjoy every second of it and not be worried about a line. Also, what do? The Eagles defense does not look good, but they're coming off of a loss, which is a great motivational factor for them. The Dolphins get a chance in prime time to show the whole world what they're capable of, especially against a good Eagles defense. Both teams 5-1. The Eagles got to keep up with the Joneses and the Niners, when they try to fight for a home field advantage in the NFC playoffs. Same thing with the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to be absolutely aided if they can secure home field if they make their way into the playoffs. This is a huge game, big implications for both teams. I like the Eagles at home. I think the line 2 is about right. I think the Eagles defense shows up. I think they're able to get after Tua, make life a little uncomfortable for him. And I think Jalen Hurts has a great bounce back game after the embarrassment on Sunday Night Football last weekend for them, or the not prime time. It was like America's Game of the Week, the late game on Sunday on Fox. I like the Eagles to win at home 30-27 in a really, really fun, exciting, great game. Dolphins and Tua. Tua makes a mistake late. The Eagles are able to capitalize on in an all-timer in a really great game that means a lot to both teams. Finally, Monday Night Football, Vikings hosting the 49ers. No Justin Jefferson for the Vikings. This is a huge get-right game for the Niners. Kirk Cousins in primetime, that's all you got to say. Hammer the Niners. I think the Niners win, and I think they cover the 7. I think this is an ugly game, even though it's home for the Vikings. I think they'll be lucky to score 17. Their defense is bad. I think the Niners will come out firing on all cylinders, wanting to show that last week was just a blip on the radar. 27-17, 49ers take care of the Vikings on Monday Night Football. So there you go. My lock of the week is the Rams -3. My upset is the Lions +3. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Hespin. I'll tweet out some more picks and a 4-game parlay later on today, so you have it all to check on out to gamble with me. When we come back, we'll switch to college football. It's on the mark on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app.
Some children living in poverty live in pain and isolation. But together with friends like you, we're putting our faith into action and restoring hope to forgotten children and adults through free life-changing surgeries. To learn more, go to mercyships.org.
She's running.
Meteorology forecast from the News Talk 1070 KHMO Weather Center. Sunny skies today with daytime highs approaching 74. Winds out of the northwest, 15 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies and quiet again tonight. Lows around 42. Highs around 65 tomorrow. Right now, 59.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO. The KHMO app brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask about that No Fear lifetime powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. Only a couple minutes here left in the show as we're going to do a couple quick hitter segments to start wrapping up the show. Talking about college football. And I will say there is obviously a couple massive games today. Massive, massive games. Let's start with into the Big Ten. Number 7, 6-0 Penn State at number 3, 6-0 Ohio State. This is one of those weird games where it's like if Penn State loses close, say Penn State loses 30-27. On a late minute, they have a field goal to try to tie it late, and it goes wide right. We'll sit there and go, oh, man, what a great effort for Penn State. That's amazing. Penn State's program is in great shape and back and all this, blah, blah, blah. If Ohio State were to lose this game, even if it was at Penn State, we will start to question Ryan Day and question the Ohio State Buckeyes. Are they done forever? That's the price you pay when you're the big boy on campus. And Ohio State is the big boy of the Big Ten, and them in Michigan. And so, listen, Ohio State has everything to lose. Penn State has everything to gain. This game is in Ohio, though, and at Columbus. And Ohio State doesn't lose these games. Ohio State loses games to like Iowa on a night game on the road, or like an upset at Indiana or at Purdue because they're not paying attention. They don't lose these games against Penn State. I like Ohio State, but that will be must-watch television today during the day. Tennessee 5-1 at 6-1. Bama 17 versus 11. Listen, both these teams still very alive in the SEC. Both these teams can afford to get to that second loss. Bama's got to be perfect. Tennessee's got to be perfect going down the stretch. So that's a huge implication game. Bama's not out of it as far as winning the SEC and getting into the playoff. An impressive home win against a good Tennessee team will help them in the minds of all of the committee and everyone getting into the playoff, especially if they can run the table. Mizzou, 20 ranked 6-1 Mizzou hosting South Carolina. Big game for Mizzou. You got back to ranked. You beat a really good opponent last week after narrowly losing to LSU. Now is where you got to step on people's throats if you're Mizzou. Can't lose at home to a South Carolina team. You got to kick the bad teams while they're down. Can Mizzou improve to 7-1 and keep climbing up the rankings, get themselves into a really great bowl game? I think they can. I like Mizzou at home. You can listen to that game right here on KHMO after we're done. And finally, the big game at night, number 14, Utah 5-1 at number 18, USC 6-1. It's a huge game for USC, Lincoln Riley. Utah's been a thorn in their side. Utah is a very complete college football program. And for Caleb Williams, he's played bad against Utah in his SC career. So Caleb Williams has a chance to bounce back after a bad game against an opponent that we will value if it's a good game. It's not like they're playing, Middle Tennessee State, and he goes out and throws 6 touchdowns. If he can lead his Trojans to a win at home against Utah and have a big game, Heisman watch back on for Caleb Williams. When we come back, wrapping up the show, it's On the Mark, News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app.
Get set to
KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area. Over 3,000 new and used vehicles to choose from. Just tell them Mark sent you, or just go to shopcunis.com, shopcunis.com. Check out all their inventory right there on the web. All right, just a couple minutes remaining here in the show, wrapping on up. I want to take a time now here during the show and try to add this into the show weekly. We're only talking about the teams that are playing this week, but there's some really big teams, important teams on a bye. And I want to go through each one of them and just kind of give you an overall assessment of where I think they're at. The Bengals are on a bye. The Bengals are riding really high right now. Turn it around, and the bye week's happening at the right time. They have some big games coming up after the bye, and they have a chance here now to get Joe Burrow rested, as healthy as he can be here now for a really big stretch run here for the Bengals. The schedule lightens up later in the season, but it's a tough schedule post-bye, so this came at the right time for them. The Cowboys, I think they needed it as well. The Cowboys, listen, after that Monday night game, they should have probably not have won that game against the Chargers, but they found a way to. Dak played his best game all year long. It was kind of the most complete game from the Cowboys, start to finish, where the offense and defense showed up. I think the bye is hitting them at the right moment. For me, the biggest thing about the Cowboys would be, again, I think like the Bills, they need to be buyers at the trade deadline. What moves, if any, will they make here in the coming weeks? Titans hitting the bye. Titans have to figure out, is this Will Levis time? Is Tannehill actually going to be healthy to go after the bye? If Tannehill's not healthy to go after the bye, you go all in on Will Levis if I'm the Titans. You give the kid a chance to play. When Tannehill's back and healthy, if Levis is struggling, put Tannehill back in, but give some exposure to the kid. Let him play. Let him get some meaningful reps as a rookie so you have some idea who he is going into next year. The Jets hit the bye. Great time for the Jets to hit the bye. They're 3-3, scrappy, huge win against the Eagles. Vibes are high, and they have a chance now to rest everyone, get Zach Wilson refocused in and say, hey, you've clawed us to a 3-3 record, kid. You're actually not playing terrible football. You're playing football that we're capable of surviving and hanging around 500. And that's all you got to do for the Jets at this point in time. Can you hang around 500 long enough to keep the Aaron Rodgers speculation floating. Panthers on a bye, they need it. I mean, they are the worst team in football right now. The Panthers, I know this seems crazy, but because they don't have their first-round pick, I actually think they should be buyers at the trade deadline as well. The Panthers should try to find a way to start bringing in some people, some weapons, to then they can sign to some contracts. They have cap space to say, hey, are you going to be a piece that we build around with Bryce Young? They've got to start supporting this kid with some talent. I would look to do it as quickly as possible. And if you're the Texans hitting a bye week, I think they're the only team I'd say it's a bad time for them to hit the bye. They're flying high right now. Their young quarterback seeing everything well. He's playing great. C.J. Stroud has been the biggest surprise so far of the NFL season. You'd like to keep that momentum going, but maybe it'll be good for him. Give him some rest. Let them get 100% healthy and keep pushing for a playoff spot in the very tough AFC.
Hi, this